Hey everybody, Noah here with Learn Meta-Analysis, and welcome to the third video in our crash course series on LLMs for academics who aren't computer scientists. This video is all about the web-based LLMs, and it will be a pretty quick video. So, by the end of this video, I am hoping that you will be able to identify common, what I would call general large language models. Those are the ones that do a lot of things well. We will identify some of the pros and cons of each. So, major LLMs that are accessible through a chat interface on the web. You've probably heard of some or all of these. These might include ChatGPT, Claude, Mistral, Gemini, DeepSeek, and Perplexity. I am sure there are countless others, but these are the ones I hear people talk about the most. So let's just talk really briefly about each one. I'm going to show you an example screenshot of their chat interface for each one as well. So ChatGPT is kind of the original in this space. Almost everybody I've ever talked to has heard of ChatGPT at this point. This is a paid service, but there's a free tier that you can use as well. One of the cool things is it's multimodal, so it can work with images, it can read PDF files, it can do all sorts of things like that. That's what I mean when I say multimodal going into the future, in this video anyway. The other thing that I'll mention is I have not explored too much of the audio inputs and outputs of any of these models. So when I'm talking about multimodal, just know that for the most part, what I am referring to when I say that is the ability for you to like upload a PDF and have it read it, or create an image. So ChatGPT is kind of the original. Tons of people use it. Tons of people love it. Like I said, it is generally a paid service, but there is a free tier that is available to you as well. So Claude is the next one. This is from my perception of the field, this is the primary competitor for ChatGPT. That may or may not be true. I don't know. That's just my personal perception. Again, this is Claude, again, this is paid, but it does offer a free tier as well. It is also multimodal. As you can see, the interface here is very, very similar, a little bit different, but it's generally pretty similar. All these models have pretty similar interfaces, as you are going to see. I really like Claude personally for coding help, and that's primarily what I have used Claude for, is help with coding. The next one that I want to tell you guys about is Mistral. So Mistral has a free chat, and you can use their largest models for that, and it is also multimodal. And they do also have both free and paid options for using their API. I really like Mistral. I find, since I've learned about it, I find I'm using it more and more and more. And they keep, again, you know, all these companies keep coming out with new models all the time, and I've been very, very impressed with the latest version of Mistral personally. All right, so the next one I want to talk about is Gemini from Google. So this is accessible through aistudio.google.com. So Gemini has a free chat, which lets you use a number of different models, and I should mention that Claude and ChatGPT also let you use a number of different models. So Gemini also has free and paid options for using their API, and it is also multimodal. So I don't really want to say too much here, other than I have used both Gemini Flash and Gemini Pro through this, not necessarily through this interface, I actually used the API, and both of them were very, very good at what I was using them for. So I'll talk more about that in a few minutes. And last but not least, actually, this isn't last but not least. This is second to last. I forgot we have one more after this. Second to last is DeepSeek. So DeepSeek also has a free chat, and the benchmarks I have seen on DeepSeek v3 have been very, very, very good compared to some of the other models on here. They're on par, if not better in some things than others on those benchmarks. But I actually have not used DeepSeek yet, which is why I don't have a picture of the actual chat interface and just have a picture of their website. So my understanding is they have free chat, at least that's what it seems to say on their website, and I believe they have paid options for their API. And I believe it is also multimodal, but I can't 100% confirm that because I have not actually used DeepSeek. So last but not least is Perplexity. So something that I should mention is I use Perplexity primarily for search or asking questions that I want to get feedback on. So it does have a free chat. It also has paid options as well. And I believe it is also multimodal in the sense of if you upload a document, you can ask about it. So I've used Perplexity quite a bit, and I quite like it for helping with search and quick answers to questions. So the question that you may be wondering is, how do I choose which one of these is best, quote unquote best? Well, this is a little bit challenging. I can't really just say, use this one. The reality is some models are better at some things than others. Some models write differently. So as an example, it has become pretty easy in some cases to identify things written by ChatGPT because it tends to use a similar format. And so many people use ChatGPT. It becomes relatively easy to spot if you have read a number of it before. So data privacy concerns are very real, or at least they should be very real. So something that these are things that you should be thinking about as you look at these different large language models. Like, are you okay sharing the data with that company? And so this is something you should be considering. So what you might find is perhaps your favorite large language model isn't necessarily the quote unquote best at something, but maybe it protects your data more than others. So the other thing that I want to mention is these models here are definitely 100% not the only models. There are so many models out there. It is crazy. These are just the ones that I've found are most common and I knew the most people who are using. So another one that's an example of a little bit more specialized model would be Notebook LM by Google. And that is more focused. I shouldn't say it's more focused. I should say what I've seen more people do with that is summarize multiple academic papers together and perhaps create a podcast based on a single paper or multiple papers. So that is what Notebook LM I've commonly seen it used for. So please don't think these are the only like 5 or 6 models that are out there. There are tons of models out there. These are just the ones that I found to be the most common and I believe to be kind of on the leading edge of where LLMs are right now, in my opinion, at least from what I'm knowledgeable about. So something that I want to mention, people ask me what's my favorite LLM. I find that really hard to answer, and the reason I find that so hard to answer is because I use different LLMs for different things. So for an example, I really love Perplexity for search. I really love Mistral for general comments. I really like Claude for coding usually. At the same time, I found that the new version of Gemini is actually pretty good at coding as well, and Mistral is also pretty good at coding, and I typically don't use ChatGPT very often, but I don't have a good reason why. I just don't. So that said, as you can see from like how I use these things, I don't necessarily have an absolute favorite where I'm like, oh, I have to use this or I'm not going to use a large language model. That's not really the way it works for me. I don't think large language models are a one size fits all at this point. I feel that different large language models have different strengths and weaknesses, and I try and pick and choose which one I'm going to use based on what I'm trying to achieve at that particular time. So I know that's a little bit of a vague answer, but hopefully it helps you as you start to think about which one of these large language models should I use, should I experiment with them, etc. At least how I've gone about this is I just created free accounts on all the different sites and I just started asking them questions and using them for different things and kind of picking and choosing which ones do I like the most, which ones do I like the least, and what are certain things good at, what are other things not good at. And yeah, it takes time, but I mean, honestly, I've enjoyed my time playing with large language models so far, and I didn't find that to be much of a chore. It was something that I just naturally found myself doing, is experimenting with these different models. So that said, that's pretty much wraps up our video on web-based models. I hope this has been helpful for you. I know it was a super ridiculously high level introduction, but if this has been helpful, please go ahead and hit the like button, hit subscribe for future content. We are going to have some more videos in this series focused on how to actually get up and running with things like Ollama and OpenWebUI. We'll also be talking a little bit more concretely about how we can connect these models to systematic review and meta-analysis process. That's probably a little bit out, at least from when I'm recording this in the end of December 2024. But that said, I hope this has been helpful for you guys. I hope you have a great afternoon, and please feel free to like and subscribe to help support the channel. Thanks.